Welcome back. Now that we've been testing 11.4.4 on the highways and in suburban street scenarios, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to take this into the core of the city. I am just leaving the brickworks here in almost downtown Toronto. I'm going to be heading into the downtown core. Let's see how 11.4.4 does here. We're going to be coming up against a lot more pedestrians, a lot more traffic, a lot more public transportation vehicles. It'll be interesting to see if 11.4.4 can show the same confidence that it showed in the highway and suburban settings. Just starting off here, bending around, driving nice and smoothly. As you can see on the map, in a short bit we are going to be turning right onto the next street there. We have a bunch of cars that are merging in front of us. Beta's doing a good job keeping the distance nice and smooth, no issues there. I'm expecting good performance out of the vehicle today, good with the lanes. I want to see how it handles the extra volumes of pedestrians. This is interesting. It's moving me into the left lane right now. I am in average mode, and I understand that it might want to get ahead of the slower vehicle, but the issue is that I've got a right turn that's coming up, and I would not move out of this lane knowing that I had to do a right turn in probably 400 meters or so. There you go. If you look at this right now, you can see we're about 500 meters away from having to turn right onto the next street. So either Beta is going to have to accelerate and then quickly get into the right lane, or it's going to have to slow down and let that vehicle pass, or it may jeopardize that right turn and miss it completely. So let's see what happens here. Okay, we're getting closer here. Now it should have the ability to move into the right lane and make its move now. If not, it's going to really miss this right turn, which would be very disappointing. Again, running out of time here. Really needs to move up. Yep, there's the right turn lane. It has to make its move now. No, it's going to miss it. It's probably going to miss it. See, now it's indicating now, as you can see, it was too late and it missed it. So I don't know if, again, there was a vehicle there on the right, but again, if it didn't do this in the beginning and move me over into the left lane, it would not have had that issue. So what's going to happen now is, as you can see, it's going to completely reroute me to my destination, probably delay me a little bit. It will come up with a little bit of a different scenarios, but again, something like that is something that definitely needs to be improved upon. Because if you're trying to replicate normal driving behavior, that is something that we normally wouldn't do, unless you're really going to pass that car and there's, kind of just zip around them and get back. All right, let's see what happens here. We're driving on a bit of a narrow stretch that's going to come up with some, you can see there's some post barriers over there. If you keep an eye on the steering wheel, you'll get a sense to see how calm and steady Beta feels around it. If it starts shaking around, then you would get the feeling that it feels a little unsteady about this environment. So far it's doing well. It's keeping the speed managed relatively well. You see pedestrians there jogging on the left. Now it's going to bend to the right. Let's see how it manages that turn. All right, signals over. I would have preferred to signal a little bit earlier than that. That's always been a gripe I've had with FSDBeta. All right, now it's going to bend over to the right. All right, no issues there. Again, wheels moving a little bit there. Now it's going to have to turn left. It puts the signal on and off. That's a little confusing. It really didn't need to put the signal there. I know it's turning left. Okay, now it's slowing down a little bit. You can see we've got this pedestrian over here that's running with their dog. I'm wondering if it was a little spooked out by that. We're going to be making a right turn here. Okay, slowing down. So we'll be curious to see what it does with this pedestrian. The person who was jogging there with their dog. Let's see what they do with that. That person's actually coming up on my right now. FSD has picked that up. It stops now. And you can see that individual running across the street there. Okay, good job. It's clear. Okay, did a good job with that. Okay, now we're into the thick of downtown, and there's going to be a lot of vehicles here. Again, you see there's going to be streetcars there. There's going to probably be people that are going to be jaywalking. Lots of pedestrian activity right now. Good job with the stop there. Nothing too sudden. Okay. Off we go. You know, when I would first drive downtown on FSD, there is no way I would have my hands anywhere off that wheel. I was so nervous about it, but I've done it a few times now to know what it does relatively well and what it still struggles on. And this scenario here, it does really well. One thing it's really good with is pedestrians. So it's very good with pedestrians that have intention or no intention of crossing. It's very careful, very cautious about that. You see that individual getting into their car over there. That didn't spook it out. It didn't slow down. It was cautious around it, but it knew that that individual was getting into the vehicle, so no issues there. We are approaching a streetcar. Let's see how it manages that. Streetcar is turning to the right. Gradually slowing down, managing that very well. Okay, we have an emergency vehicle coming. I'm not sure which direction it's coming from, so I'm going to disengage right now. I don't know if it's coming from behind me or the right or the left, but I will just pass through this intersection just to be careful myself. Be interesting to see if they actually have that built into FSD or now, or in, probably not now, but in the future, if you saw an emergency vehicle coming from behind you, if it would automatically kind of just go to the right and stop on the side of the road, which is what you're supposed to do when you see an emergency vehicles. Let's re-engage here. Alright, this is interesting over here. We have a bike lane on the right, and there's actually quite a few cyclists on the right. So I'm going to see how FSDBeta manages going around them there. As you can see, there's a line that sections them off, some barriers as well. So it does a relatively good job of staying away from them. We are going to be making a right turn up here, so we're going to see how it manages these cyclists that are coming up, if it detects them or not. I am keeping an eye on them in my mirrors right now. I want to see what FSD is doing right now. There you go. It sees the signal right now. You can see there's a cyclist up ahead, and I have a cyclist that's coming up from behind me as well. And you can have a look as well. And as you can see on the screen, actually, it's making mention of those cyclists. So, wow, it did a fantastic job there of seeing the moving cyclists as well, and knowing that it was something that it had to pay attention to. So that was fantastic. Okay, we're going to turn right here. It's waiting to see what the intention of these pedestrians are. Sees that they are not going to be crossing and makes its move, and does so assertively. That was a very good job there. It's always interesting to see what the algorithm is for trying to determine the intention of pedestrians. Okay, so this is a scenario that you may not have seen before. If you actually look at this street, if you look on top, there are lights there. And what that means is sometimes this lane that I'm driving in can change directions depending on the time of day and the flow of traffic. So at certain times of day, this lane may be open for driving north, which I'm doing right now. And then at other times of day, it could be closed off, and it could be just for driving south bound as well, and it changes, and you have to pay attention to that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause it and show you. Oh, there you go. So, see, I had to stop that right now. It was actually indicating, because it's got to turn left. If you see that red X up there, that's right, it's pointing down into this lane. That means I cannot drive into that lane. You can see there's oncoming traffic coming from that lane. FSD was about to turn me into that lane right now, thinking that might have been an open lane for me, because if you look at the lane markers, it's confusing, but that is actually oncoming traffic. If it was open to me, that X would be a green check mark. It means that I can use that lane, but at this time of day, I cannot use that. And I wonder if that's something that can be programmed into FSDBeta in future versions. You don't see that in many places. This is the one street in Toronto that I know of that does this. It's very, very interesting. All right, we're coming up to the stretch portion of our downtown drive today. And we have a few cyclists coming up here on the right. Let's see how it manages that with the car in front of us as well as the cyclist. So far, very good. Nice gentle acceleration. Staying on this side of the lane. Lights turning, so it's going to have to go through it. Yep, that's right. Gives it a little kick there to get through the intersection. Again, it's also looking at pedestrians as well as looking at these cyclists and the car in front. So you see FSDBeta just moved over to the left right now to go around these cyclists who are not even aware that I'm there. Fantastic job there with the cyclist detection. And now it gets ahead of these cyclists, so fantastic job there. All right. Good job. All right. Yep. Saw the pedestrian there crossing. Slowed down. Nice and safe. Nothing jarring or shocking though, so they did an excellent job with that. We have the vehicle in front of us right now. It is turning right, and now it seems to be stopping. Let's see it. No. Well, you know, I went around it and I disengaged, but maybe if I sat there and waited, FSDBeta would kind of go around it, but I just didn't want to wait, so I just disengaged there. And we're just going up to our destination right now. I'll re-engage for one more left turn. And lots of vehicles, cyclists, pedestrians here. Again, driving confidently through the intersections. Nothing seems to be spooking it out. And that's, again, one of the hallmarks I find of 11.4.4 is that FSDBeta just doesn't get spooked out as easily as it did before. I think all in all, it did a pretty good job on this drive. It was very solid with the pedestrian and the cyclist detection. Of course, there were their major issues with one needlessly going into that left lane and then missing the right turn, and then of course this very rare scenario where it was going to actually drive me into oncoming traffic because it did not detect which direction the lanes were operating on that special street. So something to take into consideration and something I would like to test in the future. If there's any other scenarios you want me to test, feel free to leave a comment below, and I really appreciate the feedback. Thank you for joining me on this drive today. Until next time, you drive safe, and I'll see you on the roads.